If you've ever studied economics, or even if you just remember your high school history, you probably remember Adam Smith, and from I think like the 1600s, who had this concept of the invisible hand, that if the free market is left alone and people are left to just trade freely with each other, then the economic situation gets better for everyone. Like, it encourages people essentially to act in a way that, even though people are actually acting for their own selfish interest, it acts in a way that lifts up everybody and makes everybody richer, more prosperous, and ultimately better off. Now, I think that this is absolutely true on one hand, but it's just a small observation of a much bigger principle. And that is that doing what's right is always in your best interest. So, as we evolve, as we learn, as we become more mature and more understanding, more wise, we start to realize that to do good for others and to do the right thing, to follow God's commandments, to state it in another way, is to make our own lives better. And the wisdom and maturity of that is that it's not immediately obvious how that is, right? So we can do something good for somebody, let's say, and something bad will happen to us immediately afterwards. Or we'll do something evil to somebody, like you can go and rob somebody, and all of a sudden now you have more money because you robbed that person. And so the immediate cause and effect may be the reverse of the principle that I just said. And so the wisdom comes in taking the higher perspective and learning that that immediate cause and effect is not all there is. Just like if I go out and, let's say, I drink a bunch of alcohol and get drunk, immediately I feel kind of good. I'm having fun. But the next day, I'm not feeling so good anymore, right? Or if I start doing cocaine, immediately I'm going to be feeling good. Or if I eat a bunch of donuts, it's the same concept. I'm going to feel good as the immediate effect, but the longer term effect is going to be not so good, right? And so it's a little bit more obvious with the alcohol example, right? Because the very next day I'm feeling bad. So if I'm a little bit more wise, if I'm a little more observant, I start to realize that, okay, I feel good immediately, but the next day I don't feel so good. Now let's take another example. What about if I smoke cigarettes? Well, if I smoke cigarettes, it's going to make me feel good in the moment. And then I'm not going to feel bad the next day. But 20 years from now, when I have lung cancer, then I'm going to feel terrible. So that's a more difficult pattern to notice. And in fact, people went for decades before they ever figured that out. Right? And it's the same with a lot of things. Like, not everything, the cause and effect pattern is immediately recognizable. So there's short-term effects and there's long-term effects. And so if you were a religious person, as I am, then you, in some cases, have to take it on faith. You are believing the words of people who are wiser than you, people like Jesus and Buddha and the wise people of history who have had people following them for centuries afterwards. They said to love your neighbor as yourself and treat the others as you would like to be treated. And that statement, love your neighbor as yourself, by the way, is interesting to me, because I believe that to love your neighbor is to love yourself. If you want to do what's best for yourself, you do what's best for others. And if you want to do what's best for others, you are doing what's best for yourself. It is one in the same if you take the higher perspective. You're not looking at just the immediate perspective. You're not, if I go beat that guy up and steal his money, then I'm going to have more money. Okay, yeah, immediately I'm going to be a little bit better off. But what happens when the police come? Right? Then again, I'm using the obvious examples, but there are less obvious examples. The law of justice, God's justice, is perfect and nobody ever escapes. So if you can commit a crime and nobody ever hears about it, well, God does know about it, and that is going to come back to bite you. And I believe that's what the Hindus believed with the law of karma. I believe in karma as well, that karma is the natural law that governs the universe that God has created, and it is why God's justice is perfect. So you can think that you're getting away with something, but it's going to come back to bite you at some point. So if you will live your life that way and give it a little while, don't just say, okay, I'm going to be nice for one day and then I expect my life to improve overnight. It's not going to work that way. Do it for a year. Do it for 5 years. Take it on faith that that's going to make your life better and see what happens. And then come back to this video and give me a comment about what happened.